government expenditure. We already know what government is, right? Government is an institution that puts things in order in an economy. That's government. So government wants to ensure that the economy is worth it. They want to ensure that they try their best by ensuring or by making plans for the people. That is what government does. So government plays a crucial role. So government plays a crucial role in the economy. And one of the ways in which they do this is through spending on variety of goods and services. So government has to, play its part in the society, in the economy, in the country. But how will government do it? Government will not just be saying they have to do. So one way in which government does that is through spending. Do you get it? Government makes plans. Government ensures the society is well taken care of. And one of the ways in which government does that is through spending. So what is spending? Spending means you are purchasing. Either you are making sure that things are bought. That is what spending is about. Expenditure. So, government decision. Government decisions about spending together with taxes and government borrowing are fiscal policy. So when we talk about fiscal policy, we're talking about government decisions, government policy on subsidy, on taxes, and borrowing. That is what fiscal policy is about. A policy is a rule, it's a decision that has to be taken. It's a regulation, it's a strategy that has to be followed. It is backed by law. So government will want to spend, but before they spend, they have to strategize. Before they strategize, everything has to come into law. So that's why we call it policy. It is used to ensure that the economy is in the right path. So one of the ways in which government does that is through fiscal policy. Now, when we talk about fiscal policy, we're talking about the use of subsidy, taxation, and government borrowing to correct the economy. So the role of government might also change when there is need to correct market failure. We already know what market failure is, when the social cost exceeds the social benefits, or when the market forces for demand and supply are unable to allocate resources efficiently. That is market failure. So if there is market failure, it is important for government to intervene. So government intervention would lead to correcting the market failure. So if government wants to correct market failure, what would they do? They come up with policies. So here I said, for example, subsidies. For subsidies, what does subsidy do? Subsidy allows businesses, firms, to reduce their cost of production. Government will pay certain amount of money. Government will spend so that the cost of production for firms would reduce. That is subsidy. Subsidy means government spending to reduce the cost of production. So if government wants to encourage the consumption and production of goods that have positive externalities, these are positive external benefits. So if these goods are of external benefit, government will subsidize so that to encourage producers to produce more and to make consumers be able to afford them. Example of an external benefit is maybe education. So government might subsidize for schools so that it becomes cheaper for people that want to come. For health sector, government might subsidize. Government might help firms so that they can increase their productivity by employing more workers. So firms that want to employ more workers, they will need to reduce their costs, yes or no? So if government feel like, to encourage firms to increase the number of workers they have to subsidize. Government has to spend. So spending will reduce the cost of production for firms, which may result into firms having higher profits, selling at a lower price, increasing the demand in the economy, then they can employ more workers. That is subsidies. And if government wants to correct goods that have negative impact or negative externalities, government will come up with taxes. Do you get the difference here? Government comes up with taxes to reduce the consumption of goods that are externally negative. Government comes up with subsidy to encourage the consumption of goods that have positive externality. Is it clear? So in the case of inflation, government will choose to reduce spending in order for aggregate demand to fall, which in turn reduces inflation. If government wants to correct inflation in the economy, government might reduce subsidy. So government will reduce spending or increase taxes on income. So as a result of that, people will not want to spend more. And if people are not spending more, that means consumption will fall. And if consumption falls, aggregate demand will fall. And as soon as aggregate demand falls, demand pool inflation will reduce. That is the point there. Government might use, if government wants to reduce inflation, government might reduce spending. And if government reduces spending, price of goods becomes higher. The prices becomes higher, consumers will not be able to afford them. If consumers are unable to afford them, demand will fall in the economy. Firms will not be selling as they used to sell. That might force them to reduce the price. Demand pool inflation reduces. So government spending can be greater than government receipts. When this occurs, it is budget deficit or fiscal deficit. There's fiscal deficit or budget deficit. This is when government spends more than what it receives from revenue. Receipt is the same as revenue. This is the same as revenue. So if what government makes from taxes are less than what they spend, then there's budget deficit or fiscal deficit. In other words, if government spending is lesser than its receipts, that means there's what? Budget or fiscal surplus. If the receipt exceeds spending, it's fiscal surplus or budget surplus. If spending exceeds receipts, it is fiscal deficit or budget deficit. Is it clear? Is it clear, please? Great. So we go to exports and imports. When we talk about export, export simply means you are buying from foreign countries. That is export. You are buying from foreign countries. Then we have imports. Import is you buy from foreign. You are selling here. You are selling to foreign customers. Exports. So to foreign countries. Now you are selling to foreign customers. Import means you are buying from foreign countries. I think you can get the difference here. Export, you are buying from foreign countries. Import, you are selling to foreign countries. Clear, right? So we have what we call the net export or net trade balance. The net export or net trade balance is the total export minus total import in that economy. The total export, that means the amount of the value of your exports. The value of your export minus the value of your import. That's what we call net export or net trade balance. Then what are the factors that really determine what we export or import? Number one, price. We know price already. The price, the amount in which goods are being sold or purchased. So if the price of goods are less, if price of foreign goods are less, imports will be higher. And if prices of foreign goods are expensive, imports will be lesser. Same goes to you as a country. If the prices of what you sell outside is cheaper, foreign countries will buy from you. If the prices are high, you will not be internationally competitive and you will not sell as you used to sell. That's why I said the higher the price of the product, the lower the quantity demanded. The lower the price of the product, the higher the quantity demanded. So for price, export prices will determine. If export prices are high, demand will fall. If export prices are cheap, demand will rise. If import prices are high, the demand for import goods will fall. If import prices are low, the demand for import goods will increase. That's about that. The next one is real income in the domestic economy. When we talk about real income, we're talking about the amount of money made in that economy. So any economy that is doing well, if the economy is growing, then the real income will increase. And if the real income increases, purchases, consumption will increase. And part of the consumption that will increase will mean that people will buy foreign goods too. Because now we have a lot of money we can import. So part of what is being bought in that economy will include imports, which is importation of goods or services. This will occur if the real income in the country increases. So if people have money in this country, they will buy a lot of foreign goods. Yes or no? But if they have less income, they will buy less too. That's about real income. The third one, the exchange rate. When we talk about the exchange rate, we're talking about the price of a country's currency against the rest of the world. So here I wrote, this is the price at which a currency is traded for another currency. We're talking about the price of the dinars against the dollars, the price of the dollars against the pounds. That is exchange rate. So if the dinars is falling, for example, if the dinars of this country is falling, it means it will be internationally competitive because more foreign currencies will buy the dinars, and that might make exportation increases. So I said the fall in country's currency rate makes such country become internationally competitive. It means your country, your currency buys less of other currencies. So that means other currencies will buy more of your currency. That in turn means you will sell more to export. You sell more to foreign customers or foreign countries because your goods and services become cheaper due to a fall in your country's exchange rate. 2, if the exchange rate of your country increases, if it rises against other currency, your exportation to other countries, can you please stop this please? Your exportation to other countries will fall. Why? Because the prices of your goods will be higher for them to buy. So that's about exchange rate. So if the exchange rate of a country falls, the demand for such country in terms of export will increase. If the exchange rate of a country increases, the demand for export in such country would fall. But at the same time, such country with a high exchange rate will be able to import more goods. And the last one is the degree of protectionism. What is protectionism? Protectionism are different trade restrictions that reduces international trade. So whatever this country feel that wants it to stop bringing goods or services in or out of the country is called protectionism. So there are different kinds of protectionism. We have tariffs, that means importation on taxes. Tax importation, that means you increase the taxes that you have to import goods. Or quota, for protectionism, we have quotas, we have tariffs, we have quotas, tariffs. At least these two are trade restrictions. We call them trade restrictions. Trade restrictions. And these are methods of protectionism. So what is quota? Quota means you reduce the quantity of goods that can be brought into the country. Tariffs means you are charging taxes on importation. So government could do this to reduce international trade in the country. And if the degree of protectionism increases, international businesses or firms will not be able to sell more. What I'm saying is, here it says, the greater the degree of protectionism internationally, the more difficult it will be for firms to export. If the amount you have to pay for importing is high, you will not want to import. So what will make the price of importation increases? It could increase through tariffs or quotas. So if in this country tariffs and quotas are used, it means we will not be importing more into the country, we will import less. But if trade restrictions reduces, importation might increase. So these are all about government expenditure. So government would spend to ensure that people are able to buy or consume goods that have positive externalities. Government might reduce spending to ensure that goods that have negative externalities are not consumed. Government would spend to ensure that there is increase in prices, or there is reduction in prices for goods and services to increase employment opportunity. Government can stop spending if there is inflation, because at that point in time, with government reducing their spending, the demand in such economy would fall. It will reduce demand through inflation. Government can also spend on exports and imports. So